We'll talk to Emily Rand right now in Los Angeles. G2 2-0 this weekend against two opponents that were hot on their heels in the standings, able to defeat Origen, able to defeat Fnatic. When you look at their weekend, Emily, what impressed you the most?
I think, so previously I was the one who was like, yeah, like this is Fnatic's time. And I know LEC broadcast also talked about this as well, where you joke and you always think like, yeah, you know, Fnatic's going to take over the standings now, and then G2 just kind of smacks them down. I think the thing everyone's probably going to want to talk about with G2 is the Janna top, which falls in line with a lot of things that Wonder's been doing earlier this split, running those support champions in the top lane. Due to support item changes that haven't gone through yet, they will on patch 10.5, I believe, but right now we're still on 10.4. So that is something that G2 also played around with really well. I think in the Origen series, Origen are kind of a team known for being pretty passive early, and despite some moves they made early, I'd say that's still the case, like early to mid game. G2 kind of took advantage of that, and I think if you're going to do that against G2 will take advantage of that, because some of their missteps usually happen in the early game, and where you see them recovering is definitely mid to late. Just based on, I mean, across the board, I feel like we haven't talked about it recently because we've kind of been really critical of some of the mistakes G2 have made thus far, but across the board, this is still just like an insane roster mechanically. Sure. Like just baseline level, this roster is nuts. And that's something that we don't necessarily bring up because, again, we've been super critical of G2. I think the other thing I really want to bring up about G2 outside of like some of their weird drafting that I already mentioned and the mechanical talent on this roster is that whenever a team like Fnatic, for example, we'll talk about them in a bit, but they tried to play more around Reckless by giving him a lot of the turret plates and swapping him and kind of saying that Bwipo was going to have a tough time against the Janna anyway. And I think G2 really showed that when they get some of these team compositions, they know how to do the right thing, even if they're making mistakes. So, like, we've been kind of critical of Caps since the role swap. He hasn't had as strong of a start as Perks. And again, like, that's kind of an unfair comparison, right? Because at the beginning of last year, I didn't expect Perks to step into that role as well and have them go on, like, a massive winning streak. I thought they were going to kind of fumble a bit in the beginning and then get better later on last spring, and that's not what happened. They actually just went on a win streak right away. So the comparison is a bit specious only because Perks is so talented. But we've been really critical of Caps and mistakes he's made in the bot lane, but he always does the right thing afterwards, right? And that's something I keep trying to bring up every week is, like, even if he and Mickey get caught out due to, mispositioning too forward in lane and they were waiting in the brush and maybe you should have expected that, they're recovering, they're making plays on the other side of the map, they're pushing the wave in so it's still crashing into turret, right? So they're still doing all of these really great things. So when I think of G2, I also think of that, and that's another reason why their mid game is so strong. I mean, what do you guys think of when you think of G2 as a team now?
There's a very interesting comment in chat, actually, to that very point. Esports Bro says, it just feels right to have G2 at the top of EU, to which CPT replied, their playstyle and love for the game is inspirational. And that was said in the post-game lobby, actually, after the LEC broadcast. They said, hey, Carlos, if you tell your boys you want them to have fun, they're going to have some fun. And we've seen that in the top lane, definitely, with Wonder picking Soraka, then getting nerfed, Sona getting nerfed. Now Janna's probably going to get nerfed after those picks. What's the actually, I want to know what the record is for single-handedly being the cause for a champion being nerfed. How many champions? Wonder's at least...
I'm trying to think what player would even hold that title, right? Like,
I don't know how to calculate that, but Wonder has to be in the conversation at this point.
I think so, but I think the big thing, right, is not every team is able to afford what G2 are doing right now. To Emily's point, this is a team that when they were originally assembled, swap back for a second, when Perks went bot lane and they picked up Caps, who was one of the best players in Fnatic in the mid lane. At the time, they are afforded a lot of luxury by the fact that they do have some of the best players on their team, and the fact that they don't need a top laner who's playing Gangplank and other types of carry type champions, because they have other people on the map, including Jankos, who has historically been one of the most aggressive and aggressive carry junglers in all of Europe. They have the ability to put Wonder on a Janna or a Sona or a Soraka and just let him go nuts, right? And let him just be a support. Like, truthfully, the dude could probably be nominated for a support award, like the top or what is it called? The all LEC team for support. He could legitimately be on that. Not even joking, but like, yeah, I think at this point, like, they are afforded that luxury because they are some of the best players in the league. And I think to Emily's point about their sort of macro play is that, League of Legends is a game of push and pull. Every time you push, you want to be able to pull as well. And the fact that when they make a mistake somewhere else on the map, they are very good about capitalizing it elsewhere, or trading a turret somewhere, or trading an objective and making very decisive calls. There's a level of trust that exists in this G2 esports team after a really successful 2019 that clearly does not exist in other teams in the LEC.
G2 are having fun. And it shows. Maybe in the middle of the split, you saw a little bit of cracks in the armor, but right now, based on what I'm hearing in interviews, based on what I'm seeing on the Rift, it looks like G2 is having fun. What's up, everybody? Arda Ocal here with ESPN Esports. Be sure to watch the Rift Rewind, an ESPN League of Legends show, every single Monday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, on Twitch, the ESPN app, YouTube, and Twitter.